Hello there, and welcome to Sweet Child of Time. I'm your host, Steve Barnes, and we are recapping Dark. We're continuing with Dark, and we're on Season 2 right about now. We're doing Episode 1. We're recapping Beginnings and Endings. I believe that's what this episode is called. My co-host is nodding, so I'm correct. I always forget to look at the episode titles. I'm bad. Let me bring in that co-host. She's from one of my stories. She's Lindsay Dunn. Ahoy there, Lindsay.
Ahoy, Steve. Or should I say, it's the end of the world as we know it.
That's right. The date today. That's June 27th.
Apocalypse Day.
I know. It's the beginning and the ending. And everybody in Darkland is posting all their memes on all the dark boards about June 27th. Yeah, it's really kismet that we're starting on this episode, Beginnings and Endings, Season 2, on this date. It's awesome.
Especially since we were supposed to record yesterday. And I asked us to delay one day, and here we are, Apocalypse Day.
You did it on purpose? Like, is that what you're telling me now?
The fates have aligned, that's all I can say.
Oh, okay. I was going to say you engineered this whole thing like some mastermind, but no, you did not. It was Also, June 27th, Season 3 of Dark dropped on that date, June 27th, 2020. That's a date they talk about in the show a lot, but like in our real world, that's the date that everybody was waiting for Dark Season 3, and that's when it came out, June 27th, 2020. So, the showrunners are loving to play with us. And
We're 3 years after that date, Steve. It's June 27th, 2023.
That's right. 3
years and 30 years into our next 33-year cycle.
That's right. We're 3 years into the cycle.
We're 1/11th of the way.
Yeah, I don't feel any different. I don't feel like things are changing really. Like in our show, everybody is like, coming to a big head and everybody's investigating, and I'm not seeing that happening in my life. I think my cycle's kind of boring.
But in the show, yes, there's a big transition starting here. So, but we'll get into that.
We're going to have to. We left Season 1. We left Jonas was, of course, Stranger Jonas, I should say, was determined that he wanted to change the future. And, we see now the future that he was trying to change. And it, looks, that's okay if he wants to change that. I mean, I can see where his head's at, but that was his whole point last season. And that's what he tried to do, was to destroy the gate, but instead he just closed it. That's what we determined, like between episode 10 and this episode today, correct?
Yeah, he just shut the door. He didn't he didn't destroy the door. Yeah.
And one other thing I wanted to ask you before we move on is the last thing that happened the last episode 10 of Season 1. We talked about everybody was during the last 5 minutes, you kind of got an overview of what everybody was doing. And what two people were doing was very interesting. It was Regina and Alexander, and they were overlooking the plant. And we saw like a little miniature black hole thingy in the cave, but they saw like the big, huge black hole thingy over top of the power plant. I'm assuming, because they didn't cover that during this episode at all, so I'm assuming that's just something that they saw, like nobody else really noticed that.
Yeah, you could take it that way.
Because nobody talked about it. Like, you think that would be like a big discussion, I think. Like, hey, remember the big black thing that hovered over the town? Nobody's talking about it. So I think that's just they saw it, and that's the reason, he's the power plant guy. So, of course, he's not going to go around talking about it to other people, I guess. But I guess no one else saw it that we know of.
Yeah, or if they did, they're not talking about it. Just like, we know that the power plant, their thing is revisionist history. They're like, whatever we say is what happened. So Alexander's like, it was a beautiful evening and we saw some lovely stars. That was his version of what happened that evening.
Yeah, I guess so. Well, shoot, I want to get into the recap. Before we do, though, let's get a little bit of podcast business going here. We got a letter, Lindsay, earlier this week. Well, not a letter, but we got a message from a listener, Tash, and she writes to us, "Hi, Steve and Lindsay. I've really been enjoying your dark recaps and have been following along with each episode. I've finished up on season 2 and have stopped for now to listen to you all, your upcoming season 2 recaps, before I start on season 3. Looking forward to it." And she's writing to us all the way from South Africa. So hello from America. Thank you very much, Tash. That's really sweet words.
Yes, thank you for listening and for sending us the encouragement. We definitely need it. I mean, we're going to keep doing this either way, but, we do like to hear somebody's listening out there. Yeah.
Yeah, it's great. Thank you very much. And, she went on to discuss some other shows that she's into. She talked about Silo. She talked about OA. These are shows that we have in common because I've watched both those shows. I'm into them as well. I recommended a couple other shows to her. But yeah, it's great. She's playing along. That's kind of how I see it. Anybody who's listening along and watching the show with us is playing our game with us. I like it.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
Well, Lindsay, without further ado, do you want to get started with our episode? Do you want to start our recap up?
Yeah, let's start. Let's get some beginnings and endings going.
How about a beginning first?
So in this beginning, we open with a quote from Friedrich Nietzsche. Nietzsche. How do you say his last name?
I say Nietzsche. I don't know if that's right or not, but that's what I say.
And if you gaze into the abyss also gazes into you. I have no idea what that means, but it sounds nice.
I mean, it does. I mean, I'm thinking it has to have some kind of significance, but then I was thinking about it and I was like, I don't really see how it ties in with the episode. It just is an interesting quote. I kind of take it as like, you make you are what you make of yourself. Like if you look into nothingness, then you are nothingness. If you look into joy, then you are joy. But I don't know how it ties in with this episode or with anything else. So I'm okay to move on.
Yeah. So we start in a entrance to the cave in a new time period.
Love it.
We know it's a new time period because each time period the cave looks a little bit different. Mm-hmm. In this time period, we have, it looks like railroad tracks going into the cave, almost like a little mining car.
Right. They would like pile it up with rocks, I guess, and pull it out.
Mm-hmm. And there was building materials alongside the cave. We then go inside the cave and there's these two men working on the tunnel. And they're actually making the Sigmundus tunnel.
This is what I was talking about, like episode 2 or 3. I was saying, how did they make this? Who put these doors here? I remember asking you those things, mm-hmm. and here's our answer. Like these guys did it.
Yeah, it's like Andy Dufresne, in the
right.
Shawshank Redemption. Just taking out a pile of dirt at a time,
shaking it out in the yard.
Yeah, they've got pickaxes, and they are working diligently.
It's neat how they extend the cave. Like you can see where the cave is natural, of course, and like where they're doing it, it's like a perfect square, like where we see Jonas and Ulrich and everybody passing through. And mm-hmm. these guys made that perfect square. Fantastic job, guys.
Yeah. They talk about that, hey, this is the beginning and the ending of this tunnel. I mean, they actually musing about that. Yeah, they're
like waxing philosophical while they're like all dirty and grungy and sweaty and cramped over. It's interesting.
Anything you can do to pass the time, I guess.
Yep.
They then take a break and begin to wash up. And one is younger than the other. And I think this is the first time we're seeing both of these faces, correct, Steve?
Correct. Yes.
Okay. So one is 16 years old, the other is in their 30s, and the younger man, we find out later, is Noah. Mm-hmm. So I will go ahead and say that. he accuses the older man, who is credited in IMDb as Man in the Cave. So when this, I think it's important to note that when this episode came out, when this season came out, nobody knew who this second guy was.
Right.
So for now, I think it's best we don't say who it is.
Absolutely, yeah. Because
Okay.
we both know who it is, but yeah. We're definitely playing pretend. They never said his name.
So for our viewers who are seeing it for the first time, this man is called the Man in the Cave. Just like the girl in the future is known as the girl from the future. That's how she's credited. So he accuses him of losing faith and no longer believing in the prophecy. Noah believes that in 6 days, paradise begins and hell on earth will end because Adam told him. Mm-hmm. And this kind of reminded me of Trant and Peter in the cave before. Remember, he was saying that she told us that in this many days, Mads will live. So there's these promises that are being given.
Oh yeah, to these guys it's a real vague promise. Like, yeah, it'll be paradise. It's not anything specific like you're.
And the older man just says, you should do what just do what you need to do. And I've been waiting for this a long time, and it's interesting that it's you, and all this elusive talk. And we're just like, what is going on here? But then he says, but do what you need to do. But before you do, I hope one day you won't just take everything Adam says at face value, and that you ask him why he took you in and why he called you Noah. And then the young Noah just kills this dude, with a pickaxe. Yeah, and the guy doesn't even try to defend himself.
Right. It's like he knew it was going to happen, and he kind of accepted it unflinchingly. Disturbing scene to watch. Real disturbing. Mm-hmm.
And what I had put in the recap is that this is the moment when Noah becomes a prophet, emboldened to do Adam's bidding, to fulfill a prophecy. So in season 1, all we've seen is Noah as he's just kind of this cold, heartless, very stoic guy. He seems to be very confident. And here we're getting to see a younger Noah that's a little uncertain, yet he did take the step that he was maybe told to do. So it's almost like we're seeing his origin story from transitioning from this sort of unsure man to yes, I'm still unsure, but Adam told me I need to do this, so I'm going to do it.
Yeah, I think that this is a point that he can't turn back now because he's taken somebody else's life. And it's obvious this is the first time he's done something this severe. So this is not just a turning point, but I don't think he can turn back at this point. Mm-hmm.
We have the tattoos. We have the older man has the Sigmundus tattoo on his chest, on the front side. Right. We don't really get to see Noah's backside, so we're sort of wondering if he has his tattoo already or, yeah.
I was I was waxing philosophical about that. I was wondering if maybe later in life, I'm assuming that Noah does not have that tattoo because he's a young man still growing. And I'm thinking that maybe he got that tattoo as a, memento. Or, I know he's into the Sigmundus cult pretty hard, obviously. But, maybe he got that tattoo in remembrance of that guy, right? And then
maybe
he grows older and then he has that. I don't know. Maybe I'm getting ahead of myself. But I'm looking at it as a paradox in a way. He gets a tattoo, inspires the other guy to get the tattoo. And then he, in turn, inspires the first guy to get the tattoo. And then it's an endless loop. Yeah.
You get the sense, I don't know, I got the sense even from the beginning, even before I know, I do know who this person is, but even before I knew that, you get the sense that the older guy has been, mentoring the younger guy. Mm-hmm. So they have this relationship where they're working together. but it's almost like, the student becomes the teacher or whatever, some moment where it's like, in order for you must increase, I must decrease, so the it's kind of like a flipping of the script, I guess you could say, for these two gentlemen.
Yeah, there you go. I was going to say the torch has been passed, but really it's more a flipping of the script. You're right about that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and also they talk about this guy Adam, which we haven't met Adam yet, so we're like, who? This is a new player in the game. Yep. And new season, new characters.
They didn't mention that name Adam at all in season 1, did they?
I'm thinking, not.
No? Okay.
Yeah. So then we cut to older Noah, the one we've been hanging out with this whole time. And he looks at the book with all those dates in it, and he reads a circled date, which says June 27th, 2020, beginning of the last cycle.
Correct. Mm-hmm. I didn't have anything to add to that scene.
Yeah, the only other thought I had about that scene is if June 27th is the beginning of the last cycle, then what is the end of the last cycle? It would be June 26th, 2053, I guess. So because that's 33 years in the future.
Right.
Which, I mean, again, that doesn't tell you anything, but it was just like, if that's the beginning, when's the end?
The beginning is the end.
The beginning is the end. That's right.
It's like January 1st. Like that's the first day of the year, and it's not the last day of the year. Okay, take that back. It's not like January 1st.
So then, on the next scene, we have these two people that are having sex, and the scene continues, and we see that it's Martha and Jonas. And he says to her, I think we're a perfect match. Never believe anything else. And then Jonas wakes up. And it was a dream. So this is something we've seen before a bunch of times, right? Somebody has a dream or a vision, and then they wake up.
Now, was this a dream, or is this a memory of like that summer when he and Martha hooked up?
Well, good question. But, we haven't seen them hook up yet.
True. Yeah, they keep talking about it like in the past, like it's a thing that happened. So I didn't know if this was like a memory of that, or if that's just a good dream. Let's continue on.
Well, he's in his childhood home as he's woken up before. I was going to say
he's in his birthday suit.
He's in his childhood. Yeah, I didn't really say much about the sex scene. It's pretty intense. It's like they're all sweaty, and it's like it's a good dream for Jonas, I guess. Or except when he wakes up and he's now in this desolate place.
Right. But at least he can dream.
Yeah. He's in his home, but it's really dark and destroyed. It's in bad condition. He has his father's letter. He gets dressed and walks downstairs, and he sees this calendar, the 2020 calendar, and the family photo still pinned up from 33 years ago. So he looks at the calendar. He sees that June 27th, 2020 is circled in red ink. We have X's through, I believe, June 20th.
That's right.
And then the dates until then are blank, and then June 27th is circled in red ink.
Right. Yep.
So he walks outside, pulls a mask across his face, and pulls a hood over his head, and the town of Winden is in shambles. It's not looking good in Winden. Looks like everything's been destroyed.
Yeah, it looks like that apocalypse thing did happen that they keep talking about. It's interesting too, the masks, because this was filmed pre-pandemic, so it's not like people were going around wearing masks a lot. It became a thing like later on in cinema, but this is they were prophetic with the masks here.
Yeah. The mask is really something. The mask is interesting in itself that he has, because in the show in season 1 we always saw Jonas in his yellow rain jacket. right? Now he has a yellow mask. He no longer has the yellow rain jacket, but he still has the yellow mask. So if you're been following our conversations about color theory, it's interesting to speculate what that means. You know, he no longer has the bright yellow raincoat, but he has this yellow mask.
Interesting. Yeah, that's right. And it's protecting, like, not protecting his body anymore. Now it's just protecting his mouth and his nose.
Or it's just a smaller, you know, it's a smaller part of his person.
A mini me yellow.
You mentioned yellow can be joy, happiness, you know, or like sometimes it can be a warning, you know, it can be an emergency. And so it's interesting to speculate on what the color theory would say about his mask. So
it's true, and everything in this world though at this time is drab. Like no sun shining through, no bright colors of any sort. So that's like one of the brightest things we see is Jonas.
He has this, they use this washout filter for this part where everything is devoid of color. So it's quite the sight.
Oh yeah, and he goes rambling through town like Rey from The Force Awakens. Like that's who he reminds me of here. If you did you ever see The Force Awakens?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's what it's like when Rey is in that big building and she's scavenging for stuff and finding little particles, and that's Jonas here. We're watching Star Wars.
So there's been some kind of apocalyptic event. It's 2053. Most people died, although there were survivors. So he's walking around town. He goes into the school. We know it's the school because there's a basketball hoop and some desks.
Yes.
So, but yet everything is destroyed. So it's like the gym of the school, and this is a pretty amazing scene. And I remember when 1899 came out, and the hospital reminded me so much of this scene. I was like, I feel like did they film this in the same location? Of course, we know they used the volume, so no, it couldn't have been the same place. But that's what this reminds me of, is the hospital, and
absolutely,
or actually the hospital reminded me of this scene here. So he picks up something from the school, and he's got this indestructible backpack thing, which is pretty remarkable too.
Yep, it's like a cooler of some sort. Yeah,
he walks to the hatch and walks downstairs into the bunker. So we're getting to see the bunker in the future.
Right.
And which we've been inside the bunker in the future before, but we didn't know that when the Claudia. You remember when you remarked on how there was old Claudia and it was snowing? That was this time period right here.
Yeah. Okay.
So the photos of the Wyndham residents are there with their strings tying them together, and Jonas is listening to this tape that he puts into a tape recorder, and it's a recording of Claudia Tiedemann, who claims she's one of the few survivors of the apocalypse. She mentions the God particle being the key if it can be stabilized, and Jonas has a photo of Marta from the wall. He moves it onto the desk, like it's like a picture of your loved one, which is really sweet. Yeah. And he puts this coin next to it. So, what do you think of this scene, Steve? What were your thoughts about all this?
Well, I mean, it's interesting. He's being led by Claudia once again, like, being guided by her voice and like what to do. This again reminded me of Star Wars. This is like Watto's, from episode 1, Watto's little tavern that he had all his junk in. This reminds me of that. It's interesting that this is like the same bunker that he and Helge touched fingers in that time, and that Charlotte and Peter are inhabiting now, and Helge at one time inhabited. He's in that exact same spot, and I guess nobody knows about it because it looks like he has a bunch of secret stuff down there, and he keeps it hidden away from everybody else. And it seems like the town is pretty small, of like maybe like 40 to 50 people. These are just context clues I'm gathering from things around, because it seems like he covers that door up every time, he comes to it. Okay.
Yeah. It is interesting to like think, okay, is this a secret place? But you said he once again is being guided by the voice of Claudia. Did we see him interacting with Claudia before, or are you referring to Peter and Trant, how they were listening to her?
Peter and Trant, how they were being guided by Claudia, and she showed up and was trying to talk to Bartosz like in the last season. I don't know.
Yeah.
Seems like she's a guiding force from going here forward, and this is a continuation of that.
Yeah, she definitely is. So then, in the next scene, we're told that it's June 21st, 2020, 6 days before the apocalypse. So we're sort of taking backwards. We get and 6 days ago.
I like how they do that, though. It keeps you on your toes. I enjoy it.
Yeah. So Hannah is in the kitchen, which is a nice parallel to how Jonas woke up. She goes down. She also looks at the same calendar that he does. Only, she's the one that marked off the day of the 21st.
Right.
She marks that off in the calendar. So.
But apparently she's next 5 or 6 days off. And then she comes back and circles the 27th. That's very interesting.
Yeah, we're not sure who marked this calendar yet.
Well, she did. It shows her doing it, right?
She marks the X.
Yes, that's what I mean.
We don't see her mark the circle.
Correct. Right. I'm talking about the X's. She takes a break from that.
Okay.
This is the last day. She's like, no more X's for me. And this is the same picture that Michael's not smiling in, but she and Jonas are smiling, and Inez is ripped out of the picture. Mm-hmm. Right. Okay. And then they show the next picture. I think it's funny how the next picture is of the Tiedemann family, and they're all grinning ear to ear, we love each other. The happiest picture of the three of them.
So we now move to the Tiedemann house, and we see a cancer-ridden Regina. She has lost a lot of her hair. She's not looking good. Bartosz is watching as the doctor examines his mom, telling her that things are getting worse. And I think he's thinking about her going to the hospital, and Regina says no, she just wants to be at home. And then Bartosz,
he's okay with that. The doctor seems okay with that, too.
Yeah, the doctor was in favor of that choice. Mm-hmm. Bartosz gets a text from Martha, who asks him to come to the bridge. So.
But at least, he's there. He's concerned about his mom. I like this whole... I don't like seeing her having, cancer and having a bad diagnosis, but they show you that nice smiling family in the picture, and they're all there for her, being part of the process. So I have a favorable view of this family.
Yes, I do too. The family seems very close.
Yeah.
So now we move to the Winden police station, and we have another new character.
I like this guy.
I'm curious what you think about him. So we have this new investigator that comes into town, and he's going to take over the case of the missing children. Name is Clausen, and he's going to work with Charlotte Doppler to find the boys. And he's running this community meeting to tell everybody what he is going to do. And Mr. Obendorf stands up. We haven't seen him for a while. He stands up to complain that there's not enough people on the case, and Clausen is another one of these people that likes to make good speeches. He's like, people look at elephants from another perspective, and one person can look at the same elephant from 10 perspectives, and yeah, he was basically trying to say, hey, I'm awesome, I'm the right man for the job.
Oh, then of course, Eric's dad comes back if I want to find an elephant, I'll let you know, but in the meantime, find my kid. I like this a lot. I thought this was almost like the comic relief of the episode. Maybe intentionally, probably unintentionally, But just, yeah, the way he was laying it on so thick to everybody with his philosophies. And I think he quoted Nietzsche as well at the beginning, or quoted Freud or somebody. And that's how he started out his whole thing. And the other cops are looking at each other like, what's he doing with this? And yeah, from the townspeople perspective, it's good they have another person on the case looking, but I guess they expected a little bit more. So it's underwhelming. But he holds a crowd's attention. Like, he's got like that, I don't know, that stern older guy stare that stares right through you, that, you know, is a kind of almost of a commanding gaze, I guess you would say.
Yeah.
I don't know. He laid it on thick. I went through like what's called wood badge training and scouting. And it's like a really intensive course. It's like a 6-day course, like spread out over a couple of weekends. And they indoctrinate you and all that stuff. And you got to do an Eagle project. And it's really intense. And they talk like this the whole time. Like everything is like a question. Everything is a puzzle. And everything is big. And you got to think big the whole time. And it's intense. And this guy's intense too. He's not going to come into town and just be lazy and put his feet up on the desk.
So the next scene is Magnus and Franziska sitting by the lake.
Right.
This is an interesting scene because of the colors. Again, Steve, so far we've always seen Franziska wearing these natural colors, right? Mm-hmm. This time she's wearing this bright blue shirt, and on her wrist she has a bright pink bangle of some kind, or a ribbon she's tied around her wrist, and it's almost like a brand new Franziska. And
like a more punk rock Magnus too. Like the way he's dressed in this episode, like it's like it's how my daughter dresses and all her friends. Like they wear ripped up jeans and oversized white t-shirts, and you know.
Yeah, I mean he's always been pretty punk rock looking, but his hair is longer. But he still looks absolutely miserable. So no matter what he wears, he's wearing a frown.
And those sad eyes. That was my note for this scene, was his sad eyes is what took it away from me.
His eyes always do look sad. They seem to be doing, I think they sort of, on the front, they seem to be doing well as a couple. Like, she's into it, she's kissing him, they're like, you know, obviously a couple, but you know, they're talking about if their parents talk to them about the case. And Franziska says no. They're both feeling useless and neglected. And then Franziska gets a text, and she abruptly gets up to leave and gives him a kiss. And he looks really unhappy about this. This chain of events. He's still a suspicious man. What is it? What's the song? Suspicious Minds?
That's right. By Elvis. We can't go on together. But it was pretty weird timing. She gets a text. She excuses herself to go. She's got a good excuse, which I think is a lie. But she's got a good excuse. She has to go pick up her sister. Doesn't seem like he's buying it. And yes, it seems like they're pretty happy, but how happy can they be if like Magnus is suspicious of her, and if she has like a secret she's hiding from him, you know, especially when you're that age and you're that in love, like having like a secret or hiding something from someone else is a huge deal.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think this town is full of secrets, but also, you know, you have to hand it to Magnus, or, you know, give him a little empathy. I mean, his parents, I don't know if he knows his parents were having an affair, but he's used to like secrets and lies. So I feel like, okay, yeah, it's natural that he's not going to be able to trust Franziska for some reason. But it's yeah. And on the one hand, you feel like they've sort of grown closer together. They seem more relaxed and happy with each other. But at the same time, Magnus is still getting that stalker urge.
He still doesn't know where that money came from. He still has no idea, you know? So he still knows there's like some railroad track thing, all this money. So, yeah, I mean, I think he has kind of good reason, but nothing a good conversation can't cure. But this is a world of dark.
People don't talk to each other.
No.
We then see Katerina making her way to the entrance of the cave. She's got a map and a flashlight, and she looks determined. I mean, she's like Ulrich's wife here. She's like, I'm going to pick up where he left off.
Yeah, this is a surprise to me and a welcome surprise. I liked her determination that she was going through all those paperworks like Ulrich was. It's great.
Yeah.
Rubs off in the family later, too.
At this point, Ulrich's been gone for
6 months?
What, 6 months?
Yeah.
I mean, yeah. So who knows what set off this, 6 months later I decided to start looking for my husband. So I don't know. But yeah. Katerina's on the job right now.
Yeah.
Hello to everyone out there in Zombieland. I'm Gina, former host of We Live, a weekly podcast about life after reanimation that I was broadcasting from an island lighthouse somewhere off the coast of the Pacific Northwest.
And I'm aging Gen X shock jock radio DJ Joe Dees. One night I broke into Gina's lighthouse thinking it was abandoned, but after I found out she had a plethora of audio equipment, I decided to never leave and turn her depressing death-filled podcast into the We Live Zombie Carnival morning show.
Every week, guests from around the world call into our show. They range anywhere from movie producers, podcast hosts, musicians, and even doctors and professors.
Unfortunately, by the end of their interview, they are attacked by zombies and killed live on the air.
Don't let that get you down. Since we're a radio show, we always make sure to send them off to the best underground and indie music around the world. Think End of Days meets college radio.
And it's all based on the award-winning screenplay of the same name. So make sure to check out We Live.
Available on Spotify, iTunes, and YouTube. Every Friday, right here on
Braves 98.6 KZ.
So then we're in the future. Jonas stops by the power plant, and there's a wall covering everything that says, "Do not enter."
Right.
And he walks through this field of graves, and we see graves for Alexander Tiedemann, Justina Jankowski, and Torben Waller. Then we see
That's our Waller, right? That's our
Waller, yeah. And Justina Jankowski, just so you know, we've seen her before too, but they've just not named her. She's the female police officer that Ulrich asked, can you look into Mr. Obendorf? And so, and she's there when Clausen is. Yeah.
She's exchanging glances with Waller, like, what's up with this guy?
Yeah.
And now she's dead.
So he has the family photo he took from his kitchen. He puts it on the grave marked Michael Conwald, and then he looks at the grave of Marta Nielsen. So,
yeah, Marta's death day is June 27th, 2022. So when the apocalypse happened, it happened to Marta. And Michael's birthday
You said 2022?
I'm sorry, if I said that, I didn't mean to. 2020, yes.
Okay. Gotcha.
Like she died on the 6 days from now kind of thing. And yeah, Michael's birthday is May 11th, same birthday. I mean, not the same birthday. Me and Heather's anniversary is May 11th. So we got married in honor of Michael. In 1973 is when we got married.
It's funny. I didn't even look at any of the dates. It sounds good that you did. I didn't look at any of that. So then we're back in 2020. Marta rides her bike towards the bridge to meet Bartosz. And he is waiting underneath the bridge for her. The two start this conversation that, Marta asked Bartosz to meet her, but we find out she's been ignoring his calls again. So maybe he's been trying to reach her and she finally responds. She tells him to meet her there.
Right. She doesn't want to do it over the phone. She wants to do it in person.
Yeah. Bartosz is upset, and then Marta accuses Bartosz of hiding things and changing, whatever that means.
Yeah.
And then Bartosz, is like, well, my mom's dying. And she's like, well, I have this problem to deal with. And so they're kind of having a contest about whose life is the crappiest right now.
I think the real wedge, though, is Bartosz keeping a secret from Marta. He's like obviously hanging out with Noah, and I think that's the big thing. It's not Cancer, it's not Mikkel, it's not Ulrich being missing. I think it's Bartosz being weird and like keeping stuff from Marta.
Yeah, I don't know. I kind of see it like, you know, the problem is Bartosz isn't Jonas.
Ah, okay.
I feel like Marta is kind of using that as an excuse.
Okay, yeah, it's a good excuse, though. It's the best excuse, and he doesn't argue with that excuse either.
I mean, yeah, he admits that he's hiding things and that he can't tell her anything. But I think mainly it's that, you know, we saw, like, at the end of season 1, the last time we saw these two, Marta went to Bartosz because she was upset about what Jonas did, and she sort of confided in him. So maybe they, I don't know, maybe they hooked up again, you know, maybe they've been dating since then. Okay. But her heart hasn't been in it, is my speculation. Is that ever since Yona kissed her and then rejected her, you know, she's really kind of harping on him, kind of, you know, she's stuck on him. And Bartosz isn't being maybe the best boyfriend, but he also knows her heart's not in it. So, yeah.
Okay, all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I guess like at this point, Jonas has been missing for 6 months too. So like everybody's missing from Marta's life, basically. It seems like.
Well, they both are under a lot of stress, you know. So I don't want to downplay that or say one person's being more meaning. They're both of their lives suck, but they're not good together right now. They're not supporting each other, so they're ready to. They break up.
I think we got to remember too that they met on bikes under the bridge. These are kids, so yeah, we got to remember that as well.
And Bartosz gets a message from an unknown sender that says, "This evening."
We all know who it is. This phone should just say it.
It's Claudia. No, it's Noah. So then the Winden power plant. Alexander Tiedemann is having a staff meeting during which everybody's having a staff meeting today. He has a staff meeting during which he announces that in 6 days, the Winden power plant will be decommissioned, that the future of power is always going to be nuclear power. However, those uninformed people and all of their rules and regulations, because of this, we're going to be put out of commission. He thanks everybody for all their years of service. After that meeting's over, he, along with another employee, walk to the reactor room, and they put on these hazmat suits, and the staff member says that everything is ready for transport.
Right. And they make mention that the radiation barrels, the radiation levels will match the radiation that was already there, so it's a perfect cover, according to them. Talk about regulations. I think there's a regulation against this. There must be. If I go through the book, I'm sure I can find one. This is not a great idea. And they know it's not a great idea because they're wearing hazmat suits.
Yeah. So, this is going to be another one of those interesting false reports they're going to make, you know. That what's causing all this radiation? Oh, it's just leftovers from the other thing that happened here so many years ago. Yeah.
Yep, we got an excuse.
And now we move to Hannah. And
she's looking rough.
She's at the kitchen table and she opens her metal box where she's been keeping all of her secret stuff, her secret Alexander stuff. Inside is a passport and a gun, and she picks up the gun, and she seems ready to use it on herself. Yeah. And just then the door opens, and it's our stranger, Jonas.
Let me interrupt you before you continue, because I think that I just thought about that. Like, somebody came just in time. We talk about how, like, you know, time will fix itself, and, like, if it's not your time, then something will inadvertently stop it from happening. So maybe I think that she was going to kill herself, and then a knock comes on the door to stop her from doing so. It's time coming in here to stop it.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, I've actually thought about this scene. Whenever I see it, I'm like, does he know this? Or is it, like, is this one of his dates he has in his book? Like, remember to show up at your mom's house this day? Or is this, like you said, just time keeping the loop, keeping things going? So, but it's Stranger Jonas, and she has no idea who he is, and doesn't understand why he has a key to the house, because he doesn't knock. He just uses the key and comes in. Right. And he says, it's my key.
Still fits.
And he does the thing where he has to prove to her who he says he is by coming up with these special facts that nobody would know except for their family.
Right. I think it's interesting how when she asks him a direct question, like, I can't remember if she's like, what are you doing here or something, or why are you here? And he takes a beat and he looks at the floor, and like the camera pans to the floor and it holds it for a couple seconds, and then he comes back, and I'm like, I'm going to remember this moment, because I think something significant is going on that I didn't catch, but they told me to remember this. You're nodding your head too, so I think I'm right.
Yeah, it's kind of like when he goes up to the room and he was looking at the ceiling, the thing, and it's like he's noticing something that happened. So you get the sense.
I don't remember anything happening on the floor right there, like, so I think we're going to see it later.
Yeah, she does ask him, what are you doing here, or why are you here?
And that's when he looks down. But yeah, this scene with like when she finally comes and they embrace and like they're like weeping, it's just it's a great moment, and like, television, like it just captures that moment of sadness like so well, or I don't even know if it's sadness, it just captures those emotions very well.
Yeah, I think this overall, one of the things I noticed about this episode is that it's a new episode, and so it's kind of doing a lot of showing us different sides of characters. Now, we've already seen there's been moments of empathy for Hannah already, but think about like we saw this Noah. We've seen Noah as he's this calm, cool, collected. Now we see a more distraught Noah. Right. And here with Hannah, we've seen like bitchy Hannah that's that's kind of focused on Ulrich, and here she's actually contemplating suicide. And her son comes, and this is maybe her one good relationship she has that we can, at this moment she becomes Hannah, the mother whose son has come. And you feel, you kind of feel sorry for her, because you realize, like, okay, her husband killed herself, her lover's turned away, gone missing, and now Jonas has vanished, and she's just like, what am I even here for anymore? Like, nobody cares. She had sort of a friend, maybe, or she felt like she had a false friendship with Katerina, but yet that was somebody that was part of her life, and now Katerina is also like no longer a friend, for good reason, but she's literally alone. So
she should be hanging out with like Regina. Why not? Have a girl night. Neither one of them like really seem like they have friends. Like, why not hang out together?
Regina, yes, let's be friends. After I made you the scapegoat for my crime.
It's all good now. It's been 6 months. It's all good. I did have more to say, but I realized that they actually start having a conversation. So most of my notes come in like when they actually start talking later. So I think that's all I have to say for this scene for now.
Okay. So then we hear Noah's voice saying, there is no coincidence. Every path is predetermined. Everything happens when it must, at the right time in the right place, as if the world was a carpet made of an endless network of endless threads, each in its place. So that's kind of what you were saying, Steve, that Jonas showed up right in the nick of time. Stranger Jonas.
Yeah, I suppose so.
Yeah.
It was part of the pattern that's been woven before us.
Mm-hmm. And then we have a shot of Franziska walking through the woods. Again, like exactly like that scene in episode 1 where it's like the iconic shot of Franziska walking on the railroad tracks. And Magnus is watching her put things in the metal box.
Just like last November. It's right back where we started from. He's eyeballing her and scoping things out. Yep.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So then we have, in 1921, middle-aged Noah is speaking with the younger Noah of 1921. So this is the second time. Well, no, that's not true. Because I was like, Stranger Jonas talked to young Noahs.
Mm-hmm.
Jonas. Older Helge has talked to younger Helge.
Yep.
I was like, okay, this is now the third person to talk to himself.
Yeah, I like it a lot. It's fascinating to me.
Noah tells his younger self that Adam will be proud of him and that his guilt about committing murder will pass soon enough. Younger Noah remembers what the man in the cave said to him and asks, why did Adam take us in, and why did he call us Noah, and how do we know what's right and wrong, good and evil? And then older Noah says that basically he must learn to listen to his own voice, my voice. And listen to yourself is basically what he's saying, which is really an interesting mind bender because both of these people are actually listening to Adam.
That's right. And your inner voice, I think, is kind of shaped by outside influences as well, too. I mean, of course, you have your own id, but I mean, you also are shaped by other people. Like both of these versions of Noah are being shaped by Adam. So it's not exactly, I don't think he's exactly right there when he's saying listen to only your inner voice, only you know, only I know. I think he goes on to say I am you, never forget that. So he's manipulating. It's like he's manipulating himself.
Yeah.
And it's when I saw this scene too, it reminded me of that Pixar movie about emotions and all the different characters.
Inside Out.
We have
Inside Out.
Inside Out. And then you have Noah, the calm, cool, collected older Noah, and then you have his emotions of guilt and doubt and insecurities literally sitting beside him, except it's another version of himself, but it's that version represents his conflicts, and then his older self is trying to cool his younger self down, I guess.
Yeah exactly. Yeah, Noah is another character that I feel in season 2, this starts us out where we're okay, we're seeing a different side of Noah. And he's not actually as self-aware as he thinks he is, because he would be able to see how he's being indoctrinated.
Sure.
He's not even making his own thoughts. And like you said, yes, you're being shaped. We're shaped by the forces, but then we each have to kind of come to our own conclusion. And I feel he was saying that he says a bunch of times that Jonas is Claudia's puppet. Well, you're Adam's puppet, Noah.
Right, exactly. Yeah, I thought that exact same thing. It seemed apparent, but I don't know how he doesn't see it. But yeah, maybe he just does completely lack self-awareness 100%. I don't know.
So in 2053, Jonas walks through this field of corpses hanging from trees. This is another disturbing scene, seeing all this.
It is.
He overhears gunshots and people yelling, and it's a group of militants that Jonas encountered when he first came to the time. The man is yelling, "You are hiding it. You found it. You must not hide God." And he and these other men have nooses around their necks. And then we meet the leader, who we have not seen up to this point. We saw the girl from the future, who seems to be her, like, second in command.
Right.
Her lieutenant. But this is, like, the leader of the people. This middle-aged woman with short blonde hair. She's got, like, a glass eye. Mm-hmm. She's just completely fierce. She's got a scarred face. And it turns out that this person is deaf and speaks sign language. And ta-da, here's Elizabeth.
I think it's so awesome. I mean, she was cool as a little kid, but, like, she's fierce and she's rough. And, like, I don't agree with her choices, but she's cool. I mean, she's totally cool. Like, and she signs with sass, even as an adult. Like, I love her emphasis with her signs.
This is, it's crazy. We saw Elizabeth with, like, she was sassy, but she also had, like, this pretty blonde hair, and here she's just like, she is a weapon of of the times. She reiterates that no one can enter the dead zone. It's forbidden. And the men with the nooses are hanged for their offense of trying to find the thing, whatever this god thing was. And everyone walks off except Jonas. And this makes the leaders decide to question him. Where have you been?
Right.
I don't know. This reminds me of, like, we see movies of like the Taliban, when you see the Taliban in movies or things, like, that's what this reminds me of, is like, there's a statement and these people are being used as examples.
Yes.
And everything is so protected that anybody just, like, hanging out is now questioned. So Jonas, because he's just standing there, they ask him where he has been, and Jonas asked them a question. Well, what's outside the wall? And neither party gets an answer to the question.
That is right.
And Elizabeth says that the prophecy will only be fulfilled if people obey the law. And talks about paradise. And Jonas is not having any of the paradise. He's not into that at all. He just wants to save his family and friends back in 2020.
Yeah, does she know? I mean, at this point, we don't really know what their relationship is. Like, we know when Jonas first showed up, he got, like, the butt of a gun to the face by this girl.
Yes.
So I guess that's all past now. It seems to me that, like, he's found his place in their society. He just kind of lives in his house and shows up to the meetings when he has to, I guess. I didn't miss anything, did I?
Yeah, I mean, I think the sense I get is he's been, like, just keeping a low profile.
And that's why they're like, where have you been? I guess. Yeah,
and here, maybe he doesn't normally go to the meetings. He's just been like you said, he's in the bunker a lot of times.
Okay.
He's foraging for supplies. He's going to the gravesite.
Yeah, they don't know about all that.
Yeah,
they don't know about any of that because, he, at any rate, the interpreter, we don't learn her name at all at this point, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay. So we're unclear. I was wondering if Elizabeth knew who Jonas was, but it's unclear stuff at this point. What I do know is that there's consequences for nosing around the power plant. You get hung. And you don't get hung, like, in the traditional sense of, like, your neck broken. And then, that's like the humane way to hang someone, is to quickly hang them and break their neck, and then they'll die instantly. They're slowly lowering these guys up and, like, basically, like, just suffocating them and torturing them and making the hanging go on much longer than it should. That's something that I noticed that I thought was pretty brutal, I guess, to make the example, like you said earlier.
I didn't notice they did a slow hanging.
Yeah, they just kind of had them on a winch, and they just slowly lifted them up. It wasn't like a trap door was like, or a stool was kicked out from under them. So it's very brutal, very
okay,
intentional, I guess.
But yeah, I think that is the question, like, what is Elizabeth? Who is Jonas to Elizabeth? Does she remember him? Does she know who he is?
Oh, they're all Sic Mundus Creatus Est heads too, because they say that.
They say it later.
Break up the meeting.
Yeah.
And like how they talk about God, how they're hiding God in there, and we know that that's the God particle, because Claudia talks about it. So I think it's an interesting comparison. What do they say? Something about the passage must be opened to lead us back to paradise. And so it makes me think about the passageway in the tunnel, but we know that passageway has been closed. So that seems not possible at this point, as far as we know.
The passage has been closed, but not necessarily destroyed.
Okay.
Yeah.
So that's their goal, is to reopen it and go to paradise, I guess. Just like 1921. That's the same promise that that Noah and the man in the cave were talking about. Like, paradise is coming.
Yeah, I wonder if they all heard it from the same person.
It's possible.
It seems to be like a theme going on about paradise.
Yep.
Yeah. And in 2020, then, we see younger Elizabeth. And Peter and Elizabeth are visiting Tannhouse's store. So our clockmaker's store is also looking fairly disrupted.
Yeah, but it's cool. Like, at the same location, you can kind of recognize some of the guideposts in there. So I like that.
Yeah. One of the things if I was going to interview Bo and Yantia, I would want to ask them, and, did you do these things in order? Like, did they have to do all the scenes, like at the school gymnasium, for instance, and then destroy the school gymnasium and then do the scenes like in the apocalypse?
Right.
The same with the store. Did they have to set up the store and then slowly just, make it old? Yeah. But yeah, it's a cool store. It's still there. Elizabeth is curious why Charlotte never sold it, and Peter says it was the only thing she had from her family. She never really knew them. And Elizabeth finds a photo of her, meaning Charlotte, and younger Charlotte, the bird drawing Charlotte, her and Tannhouse standing together, and Peter just smiles and keeps looking through the boxes.
Is this a revelation to us that Tannhouse is Charlotte's grandfather? It seems to me this is being revealed for the first time.
I think it is. We heard her talking about her grandfather, that her grandfather was obsessed with the 33-year cycle and all that kind of stuff.
So we inferred it was him, but now we're getting the definite, this is,
There's the
confirmation.
Evidence right in front of us. This is her grandfather. And we also find out she doesn't know who her parents are.
Yeah, that's interesting. So I guess she was raised by her grandfather while he was
raised by her grandfather.
While he was working on clocks, he was also letting her. Oh, she was just gone gathering dead birds and drawing them. Great job there, HG.
Because we asked that, right? Like we mentioned the last season that we didn't really get to see her parents, and there was the question about what was her last name.
Yeah, that's right.
Before, and so I guess it was
Tannhouse.
Charlotte Tannhouse. Yeah,
it's cool. All right, Peter's fun here. He's like fun dad. He's like got his spunk back, and he's like smiling and laughing, and I don't know. I like Peter here.
He loves his kids. He likes hanging out with his kids, and he doesn't have Charlotte frowning at him.
Well, it seems like he and Charlotte are kind of getting along better now, and the Charlotte household seems like they're pretty stable. Nobody's missing. Nobody's dead.
The Doppler household.
The Doppler household. That's right.
I like how you call it the Charlotte household, because she does wear the pants in the family.
Yeah, but it seems like they're now that the whole secret's out. Because last season Peter was. I was suspicious of him the whole time because I don't remember, I kind of lost the thread of his storyline. So, I was very suspicious of him still. I was like, I can't remember how he tied into this, but I guess he did something bad. So now he's been redeemed. So Peter's the cool dad, in my opinion, now.
we're now at the Wyndon police station, and we get to see Charlotte and Clausen together.
Their vibe.
Looking through the case file. Yeah, these two do not vibe together at all. Charlotte is used to people like Waller. She can just say, like, okay, you can go now.
Yeah.
But Clausen is not one to be shaken. He's sort of low-key interrogating her.
Yeah. He doesn't even want his own office. He wants to sit there with her and stare at her. He doesn't even want, he wants to be in the thick of it, I guess. That's his style.
Yeah. And he continues with the speeches. She's like, I cleared out an office for you. And he's like, you should expect the unexpected with me. But he doesn't just say that. He makes he again quotes some philosopher. And, but yeah. He keeps bringing the conversation back to Ulrich.
Right.
And wanting to know if she suspects Ulrich. And Charlotte is giving away nothing. She's able to not give anything away very well. She found the photo evidence of Ulrich, but as we said before, she's going to do her own investigating. She's not ready to share any of her findings with any of her own staff, and definitely not with Clausen. Waller comes in with statements from all the parents, and Clausen kind of gives him a funny look, and Charlotte, as usual, just dismisses Waller. Thank you, Waller. Goodbye now.
It was a more polite dismissal than I'm used to from Charlotte. So
maybe she's appreciating him a little more now that she sees what she has to deal with.
That's what I was thinking.
Compared to that's the funny thing that I was going to say about Clausen. As much as the people of Wyndham don't always get along, I feel like when it comes to outsiders, nobody likes them. They're all going to be allied against outsiders being able to come into this town.
I think
because they like things the way they are. Yeah,
that's true. I think this guy's going to figure it out. You get an outsider in there from an outsider perspective, and he's smart and observant. I mean, I don't know. Yeah. I got high hopes for this guy, that he's going to start putting some time travel stuff together. Like, so far, he's rooted in reality. He's looking for physical stuff. We'll see if he gets on the cuckoo side anytime soon.
Yeah.
I like two things. One thing he said was that's always been something that I've said to my kids too, is to have hopes but not expectations. Like, I hope I win the nationals competition next month, but you don't walk in there like, I'm gonna win, I'm gonna take the cake home. You're setting yourself up for if you do win, of course, and you have those expectations, that's great. But if you're a normal person, you have these high expectations and you don't meet them, then you're disappointed. So I do like that philosophy that Clausen brings up here. I latched onto it immediately. And the look he gave...
it was evidence of you, because it's like evidence that you're right.
That's right. Preach on, Clausen. Talk that Steve talk. He looked at Waller really funny, and I noticed, last season he had that big clunky patch on his eye. Now he's got this more like regimented, medical eye thing now, but it still covers up like a huge portion of his face. And I'm thinking it's one of two. I have eye problems too. Listeners to the podcast have heard me talk about it before. I have macular degeneration. So I'm like legally blind in one of my eyes. So like when I was going through when that was starting to happen and I was doing like different therapies and stuff, they would do stuff to my eye that would make it super sensitive. So I had to do the Waller and wear like a big giant patch on my eye, not for anybody's sake, but my own, because any light coming through was just going to be blinding. So I'm thinking either he has like a severe light sensitivity going on in his eye, or he's been hanging out with those nuclear barrels and stuff. I wonder if like some kind of accident happened, when that accident happened, that Claudia, no, that would have been like in 1986, that accident happened. My point is like, I wonder if like some nuclear radiation might have scarred up his face and he's trying to hide it. it's just really interesting to have that. It's really physical and it's noticeable, and it just makes you wonder. No one talks about it except for us.
Well, Charlotte is quick to respond to Peter's text. She's never been more excited about talking to Peter. He sends her a text, and usually, you know how she ignores him, but she's like looking for any excuse to get out of that room. And
Peter
then
listened
Clausen,
to you last season. He was like, I got to text her. That's what Lindsay said.
Clausen says, I don't have a car, so can I ride with you tomorrow? And Charlotte's like, yes, okay.
She immediately agrees. Got to give it to her.
Yeah.
She didn't hesitate.
Well, she just wanted to get out of the room. She's like, fine, I'll agree to anything you say right now.
Just as long as I can get out of here. Yep.
Yeah. So then Marta goes into Mikkel's room looking for her mom. And instead she finds all of the files that Katerina has been studying. And then she shows them to Magnus a little bit later too. But Marta's like, look, there's all this stuff that they've been hiding from us.
Yeah, it seems like now everybody's getting in on the thing. You know, like almost everybody in our families is like involved. I was trying to think of like who's not involved. And the people who are not involved are also indirectly involved. Like Regina is not really involved in all this, but she kind of is because she's married to Alexander and they saw the big black thing over the power plant. And then I think like, well, maybe Francisca, not really involved, but she's got her own like secret thing going on too. It's not really directly related, but it seems like everybody has got some kind of hand in this whole plot. You know what I mean?
Well, everybody's got a secret. Everybody's hiding something.
And it seems like all those secrets are like related to each other and all directly related to the time travel portion. Mm-hmm. Or the
everybody's
murders.
a detective. Everybody's a detective on this show. It's like a bunch of Nancy Drews, trying to figure out stuff.
Yep.
But I think Marta also mentions Bartosz. This secret. This must be what Bartosz knows.
Right.
So,
Yep.
Yeah. And Katerina's in the caves. She comes to a dead end and sits down, looking dejected. And, that's again, she's almost following, it's like she's following Ulrich's footsteps because he did the same thing. He went to the cave and was just like, there's nothing, I can't find anything.
Well, she's looking at those maps and we're looking at those maps over their shoulders too. And they're showing like the steel door. And that's what she's looking for is the door. Yeah. So she hasn't found it yet.
She doesn't have a stranger Jonas. Yeah, she doesn't have a stranger Jonas coming to her room and circling things on the map to help her.
I don't know. She's doing pretty good by herself. I like her determination.
Adam and Noah are now talking. We get to see Adam for the first time. And he's this old scarred dude.
Yeah. Like Voldemort almost looking. Like a scarred up Voldemort.
But wearing a very tailored suit.
Oh, he's sharp.
Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
He's sharp dressed. Adam wants to know what Noah told Bartosz and tells him to find the missing pages from the book.
Right.
He also reiterates that the apocalypse must happen and uses this analogy about when you have an old forest and you want new trees to grow, you must burn the forest down.
Or just prune. I mean,
you
could just prune instead. Yeah, it seems like he's in direct opposition.
I mean, not everybody knows.
What's that?
Sorry. I would just like, not everybody knows the correct way to prune a tree, though, I bet, Steve.
Not in Winden. Burn it down. Yeah, I was going to say he's in like a direct opposition to Jonas here because stranger Jonas, I should keep saying that. Stranger Jonas is all like, I got to change it. I got to change the future, whereas, Voldemort here is like, you got to, the apocalypse has to happen. I don't know who to believe. I don't know. He doesn't look like a very trustworthy guy, though.
And then there's this painting on the wall, The Fall of the Damned, by Peter Paul Rubens. This painting we see a lot in season 2 and I believe season 3.
Oh, okay.
And it's a painting of souls of good and evil. And there's an archangel. One of the angels is, wreaking this vengeance upon them. And then all the people that are, destined for hell are suffering below. And so there's it's just a massive painting. And it's got a really interesting, it could be, you could interpret this painting many ways, like everything. But it just dawns on me that they keep talking about going to paradise, 7 more days and we'll go to paradise. In order to go to paradise, we have to go through hell. We have to be in this abyss.
Right.
They talked at the beginning about looking into the abyss, and another word for hell can be abyss also. So there's this big theme starting in the season about the damned, the abyss, paradise, and what you have to do to get to paradise.
Yeah, I've seen this painting before used in other movies, and it's intense. I think it's a scary painting personally. What I get from it is a lot of fear and pain and suffering. That's what I see when I see this painting. So an interesting painting to put there in your study and gaze at every day. We see an unknown woman walk in. So another new character that I guess is associated with their church, I guess. Maybe it's a church. I don't know. He's wearing a priest outfit.
The Church of Sigmundus, sure. They're a part of this. Okay. They all are part of this cult. They all are
Yeah, the building that Noah comes out of is obviously a church. The younger Noah. So, yeah, I think I'm in the right direction here. I just haven't seen any services yet. I don't know if they take the sacrament or what their children's service is like. I don't know.
So then after following Franziska to the metal box under the railroad tracks and watching her leave, Magnus hangs out behind a tree waiting to see what happens next. Eventually, Benny, or Bernadette, comes to pick up the package.
Yes.
And this is I don't know why, this is one of my favorite scenes of the episode. It just makes me laugh so much.
Oh, you mean when Magnus busts in, that part?
Well, okay, I'm going to narrate this. So he comes to pick up the package. Magnus decides is now following Bernadette to see what happens next.
Right. And
Benny walks past the trailer truck parked across from the gas station into the trailer, marks herself open for business. Then Magnus walks inside, and at first Benny's like, I'm on break. But then as soon as she lays eyes on Magnus, she's well, maybe I'll make an exception for you, handsome.
I picked that up
I have
too.
to eat my lunch first. I have to eat my dinner. But it was the whole thing was funny because if you're on break, why'd you say open? Why did you put on the flashing lights? But then it's just Magnus has no idea what to say and then just runs out. and then Bernadette's okay.
Yeah, I think from Benny's perspective, it's kind of okay, that's just a weirdo that lost his nerve, basically. Somebody wanted it and then decided not to. I think I have an answer for you, though. The reason that Benny turned those lights on and then went on break is probably just out of habit. They don't get a lot of business out there. So I doubt that they were expecting any business, you know what I'm saying? At any given time. It's maybe they might get one customer every couple of days or something. So I think that just the light's just always on just in case.
Mm-hmm. Okay. Yeah.
That's the business model,
That's the business
keep the light on, let everybody in, but if you got to take a break, do your thing.
Yeah. But I was like, okay, Magnus is really handsome. So, yeah, I understand. I understand Bernadette.
I mean, Peter ain't a bad-looking guy either. I mean, I think Bernadette's got pretty good clientele.
So then at the Conwald house, Hannah continues her conversation with stranger Jonas. And this is the part you said you had some more notes about. She wants to know where my Jonas is. And
Right.
he explains that Jonas is in the future, that he tried to destroy. He tried, when he says he, that means him, stranger Jonas.
Yeah,
He
did a
tried
poor
to
job.
destroy the passage, but only closed it. And now her Jonas is stuck in the future with no way to return. And this is where she asks why he's come. He looks at the spot on the floor.
Oh, okay,
He tells her
okay.
he plans to end it once and for all, which is what other Jonas, and what he said before, too. So everybody's trying to end it or do something, once and for all.
Yeah, I think he did a poor job of explaining that to Hannah. I think what I wrote down, what he should have said when she was like, "Where's my Jonas?" He should have said, "That's me. I
Yeah.
am your Jonas. I am your Jonas in the future."
Yeah.
And then he could either say, "You will or you will not ever see the young version of me ever again." Now, stranger Jonas knows that information, so he could fill in the blank there. He could say, "You'll see, the younger Jonas in a couple of years or whatever." But I think he should have reiterated the fact that, like, that's me. It's not a separate guy. It's me. I think he should have harped on that fact a little bit more than he did. And
He does kind of say that. He does say that in a sense, because he talks about how it's the loop and he's like at the later end of the loop. So he does kind of say that. But yes, when she says, "Where is my Jonas?" he doesn't say, "It's me,"
Right.
but because I think he's trying to like respect how she's processing it.
okay.
Yeah.
My other note was I got two other notes. One is that you can see in this scene he's got a visible noose scar around his neck. So they don't explain that, they don't talk about it, but it's very visible. So we're supposed to notice it, and we're supposed to speculate if maybe Jonas goes the same route as Michael. I hope not, but I mean, obviously something happened there. And again, another Wheel of Time reference, because there's a character in Wheel of Time, Matt, who was hung, and he has a new scar, and he always wears flamboyant scarves around his scar so nobody can see it. But that's what Jonas reminded me of, was Matt from Wheel of Time. Last note, he can take a shower anytime. The water works. He's been there for a while. He just refuses to shower. He goes to bed all dirty too.
I mean, yeah, he took one when he was at the hotel, but
That's right. I think that was the last shot. He got really dirty in between that time. You're right. But yeah, you can use a shower here, like your old shower, Jonas. Maybe your old shampoo is up there. Give it a shot.
he can do that. You're right. Okay, so let's move on.
I'm with you.
Elizabeth is looking through boxes of her great-grandfather's things and comes across the Sic Mundus photo in a copy of the Kabbalion. I did look up the Kabbalion, and this is a translation as above, so below. So she finds this photo and recognizes Noah from their encounter in the woods and shows the photo to Peter.
Yeah, she's like, "That's him. That's our guy Noah," and it's rad. I was looking at the other people in the picture, trying to see if I could place them. Yes. I didn't recognize anybody. The Kybalion, of course, is where we get our 7 Hermetic principles from. I don't know if you knew that or not, but it's divided into 7 chapters: mentalism, correspondence, vibration, polarity, rhythm, cause and effect, and gender. There's a Richmond band here, a future projector, that just recently released an album, The Kybalion, and the 7 songs are called this, and they have like videos for each song they play behind them as they perform. So that's so like as soon as I started talking about the Kaibalon, I was like, future projector. I know what this is. This is rock and roll.
It's a cool title for a book. I mean,
yeah, absolutely.
But yeah, I liked how Peter reacted here. He's like, Noah? He just it's a good reaction. Sometimes people like aren't always reacting appropriately, but here right. Peter is solely. But yeah, the photo is really amazing. So I'll try to put a copy of this in the video when I make this. But it's like, yeah, we see Noah's in the photo and some other people. And
listeners, don't be afraid to jump up, pause the screen, because I do it all the time when I'm watching this show. I'm always like when they show like all the photographs on the wall, I'll pause the screen and like jump up and get a good close look at everything and check it all out. It's well worth it.
Yeah. So we're now at the Wyndon police station. Clausen and Charlotte are still looking through evidence when Charlotte gets a text from Peter. Oh, I already talked about this already. He asks her to meet him in the bunker, telling her, I found Noah. And Charlotte leaves.
Yeah, I think we did get our scenes a little mixed up here, but that's all right. Yeah. Clausen is saying to her the same thing that Noah's neighbor, I think it was Noah's neighbor, was saying to him. Every detail is important. No breath in vain. Like this, like he's the same philosophy. So I'm like, was Clausen maybe the upstairs neighbor of Noah when he was a kid? Because he has the same philosophy.
Nothing is wasted.
Yep.
Yeah. And then it's late at night. Jonas goes down to the bunker and he grabs the St. Christopher pendant. We will find out later it is the St. Christopher pendant. But I'll tell you right now, it is.
Okay. I'll take it.
We're now at the Nielsen house. Magnus finds Martha in Mikkel's room. She shows him the maps, speculates that Katarina has gone to try and find the trail, and Katarina's still looking for the passage of the door. Now we're with Bartosz, who's outside the cave waiting for Noah. Noah comes out of the cave carrying a suitcase.
Suspicious.
And he asks Bartosz if he's ready.
Yeah, is Bartosz about to time travel here? Is that what's happening? I mean, because that suitcase looks just like the time machine. And we saw Noah with it earlier. So, and the cave is the time travel cave. So, I think Bartosz
You mean it's not just priestly clothing inside the suitcase?
I brought you a change of clothes too, Bartosz. Here you go. You brought him an altar boy costume.
But yeah, this is like, oh dear, what's happening to Bartosz? Is he going to put him in the blue chair room? No.
Yeah, I don't think that. Like, I thought that last season, but this season, I'm thinking he's looking for a new Helge. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah.
I wonder if he is. I wonder if he does time travel here. That's an interesting question that I've always wondered, what are they doing? He's ready for what exactly? What are they going to do?
I think they must be, yeah. And I guess they can't use the gate because Jonas closed it last season. Like if we're looking at a sequence of events here, but he's got the suitcase. So
right.
He can rock and roll with that thing. I don't know why he has to do it in the cave. It seems like he could do it anywhere, but maybe the cave has some sort of quality to it. We know it does. The cave is mystic.
Yeah. Or it could just be like a place that's out of the way.
Yeah.
That people can't see.
Correct.
Yeah. Then Waller comes out of Bernadette's trailer. Now, we could have all kinds of story times with this, but we find out that they are siblings.
Yeah, I like this reveal. It's a great reveal because at first you're thinking, oh, Waller's been hooking up. And then you're thinking, oh, I guess they, maybe they have something. And then, yeah, it's the 3-step reveal that they're siblings. And I'm concerned. I'm way more concerned about Benny now than I was before, because Benny's been living next to all those radiation barrels for months. And we know that they're dangerous, and we know that they make that little thing click a whole lot when the clicking machine, the meter comes around. So it's pretty dangerous. Yeah, poor Benny. Yeah.
So I guess Waller talked Bernadette into storing the trailer on, which is interesting because I'm like, okay, does Bernadette own that? I mean, she owns the trailer, but does she own the property? I don't know. The trailer, the trailer's on because
I think it's
she's been
just
storing
like a truck
that
stop.
truck there.
It's just a truck stop, and everybody just kind of has like squatter rights to their spots.
Okay. Waller asks Benny to please call Mom.
Yeah.
And that's how we find out they're siblings.
And go ahead.
I was just going to say, Waller gives, I think, I couldn't tell what he gave her, if it was money, the thank you for keeping it. But they switch, she gives him the keys, he gives her.
Got to be money.
Maybe money, yeah.
Or something valuable that a
from Alexander. Maybe it was like money from Alexander.
I'm thinking that's what it was. I thought it was interesting how like when they do the hug and like Benny's kind of like just sweetly kind of like caressing, and then Waller does the old like the big double slap man hug, like to show like the the feminine side and the masculine side of the siblings here.
So we're now at the bunker. Charlotte comes down the stairs and meets Peter. He shows her the photo of Noah and explaining that Elizabeth found it at the store. And Charlotte turns over the photo and it reads 1921.
Sic mundus creatus est.
Yes, this is on the back of the photo also. She adds it to the evidence board that she has accumulated.
Yeah, so she's got two evidence boards. She's got one at the police station, which is like the, on the record one. And then she's got this secret investigation board in the bunker, with the same bunker that Jonas also lives in this episode too. I think it was second viewing that I kind of put that together. Like, oh, she's a cop and she has a second investigation going here.
Yeah. Well, I wonder now, I wonder if that one is still at the station or if she moved everything to the secret.
No,
I guess that'd be pretty noticeable.
Clausen was looking at the board at one point. So all that stuff is still up there with Ulrich on it and stuff.
Gotcha. Okay, so we now have Franziska calling Magnus, and he's ignoring her calls. Okay, this is where our musical interlude, which is another Agnes Obel called It's Happening Again. So during this interlude, Franziska...
It's Helge's song. That's all I could think of when they were saying It's Happening Again, is Helge walking around saying It's Happening Again.
Yeah, it's also a famous line from Twin Peaks.
Oh, yeah, that's right. Yep.
So Franziska calls Magnus, but he's ignoring her calls. Elizabeth is in Franziska's lap holding a stuffed fox. We've already seen Elizabeth's symbol is the fox, so that was a neat little reveal.
Yeah.
Hannah watches stranger Jonas sleep, and she holds her hand out as if towards his scarred back. So now we see the scars in his back, which I think we saw when he got out of the shower in the hotel, but he's pretty beat up.
Yeah.
Also, Regina is in a hospital-style bed in her living room, and at the power plant, the yellow barrels are covered with what looks like cement.
Yes, they're going to cement them in and make like a
make
foundation.
A fake floor. Yeah, just make a new floor on top. And then Clausen has a letter he's carrying around, which we don't see, but we see he has a letter, and then young Noah walks outside of the church. So those are all of our images we see during this.
Yeah, young Noah, that's right.
Yeah.
Yep, I like how they they concrete in all those barrels, but we know that they're still detectable, like in the future. And your very next scene, I think somebody is going to start detecting them. We can hear from his little clicker that it's pretty massively radioactive in this area.
Yes. So when we're in the future, Jonas breaks the rules and enters the dead zone. It looks like there's just a hole in the ground at the wall you can go into. So they, as secure as they've made this, they didn't check everything, I guess. At the center of the dead zone is the wind and power plant. They've just been calling it the dead zone. So we suspected, this is where it would all be. And he follows the signal to the reactor core, and he finds the black and blue pulsating God particle.
This is the first time we see this thing, and it's crazy. It looks like it's unstable and a giant ghost or something. He's smart enough to put on that radioactive suit to go in there, though. He doesn't just go in there just normal. So I'm glad those suits were there and that he had the wherewithal to do so.
That's where our episode ends, Steve, right there.
Yeah, a pretty big ending, making you wonder what exactly this big blobby thing is and what he's going to do with it now that he's discovered it. And it makes me a little more... I was saying so many nice things about the Tidemans earlier, Alexander in particular, and we know that it's his negligence and his lack of regulations that plays a big part in this, and so I can't be too happy at the guy at this point, knowing that what he's helping with here, and he's knowingly helping this as well. He's knowingly doing all this.
Yeah.
And I wonder, I hope we get to know like what his gain is here with all this. If he's just trying to save money or if he's playing an active role. I think that other guy that was in the power plant with him might tell us more later, perhaps. I think he might know more than Alexander does. This smart looking shorter guy that was with him.
Yeah. I mean, my feeling is that when he got this role from Claudia, that, she, basically she told him or he deduced from her behavior that you need to keep this a secret at all costs. I mean, he was the one that helped her build the door. So I think he's kind of like, okay, Regina, I love Regina. Claudia's Regina's mom. The mom told me to keep these secrets, so I'm keeping these secrets.
And I'm rich, too. Let's not forget that. Yeah, I had forgotten that he was that younger man that helped build the door. I thought, forgot they were the same person. And I'm remembering now, like how kind of brutal he was in season 1, beating up Ulrich, and he had like those guys with machine guns at the front. So yeah, he knew what he knows what he's doing. He's in it. I just like to know how deep he is into it, how much Claudia has revealed to him. And I won't know that until I continue watching. Guess what, Lindsay? I cheated this week. I've already watched episode 2.
Oh my gosh.
I watched it last night when you stood me up. I did it in spite too. I watched it very spitefully, but it was great.
Stood you up? What? I told you.
I know you did. I'm teasing you.
Oh man.
But yeah, this is the first time I've done that. I felt so naughty, but yeah, I did watch episode 2, and
you martyred me. You went behind my back.
It's just a little secret. No big deal. And look, I'm telling you, I'm better than everybody else because I'm revealing the secret to you. So you got to give it up. But yeah, I've seen episode 2. I can't wait to talk about it with you again. I know you still got your recaps going on and you're doing some revised recaps right now. I don't know. Did you have any closing thoughts for our episode?
Nope. I'm just ready for our characters, I guess. We need to do that.
We do. I think before we do our characters, though, I think we're at a good time here, Lindsay. This is not exactly the Barnes Burner quiz, but this is what I'm going to call the color compatibility quiz. Okay.
Okay.
I want you to put your color palette back on. We were talking about colors earlier, and
okay.
What I did is I took 9 colors and I quickly associated dark characters to these 9 colors, and just just have to use the honor policy here that I didn't overthink it. I just quickly jotted down names next to these colors. And so what I'm curious to see is if you come up with the same names for the same colors that I did. What was the other stipulation? That's it. You get the point. So I pretty much used Roy G. Biv, except for indigo and violet, which I'm very unclear about. I substituted those for pink and purple.
Okay.
And then I added black and white.
Okay.
So I need a pen so I can write down what you say, and then we can see how compatible we are with our color compatibility quiz. All right.
Okay.
So let's just go Roy G. Biv real quick here. So red.
So I just tell you what character
And you can't use the same character
is associated
twice.
with that color?
Correct.
I'm going to say Hannah.
Hannah's red. Okay. Orange.
And this is just my gut reaction, right? There's
That's right.
really no right or wrong.
Yeah, that's right.
Orange. Claudia.
Claudia is orange. Roy, yellow.
Jonas.
That was quick. Roy G. Green.
Franziska.
Franziska. Okay, this is where we get into the Biv part. Okay, so I'm going to say purple.
Purple is Magnus.
Magnus is our purple boy. And pink.
Bernadette.
Benny. I'll call him Benny. All right, and so now we're going to get to our black and white. Oh, I'm sorry. I skipped blue for Roy G. Biv. So let's go back to blue.
Blue would be Inez.
Inez. All right, and now black.
Mikkel.
Mikkel in his black and white skeleton suit. And white.
Noah. I don't know. White is tough.
White is tough. You said, I don't know Noah. I chose
Noah,
Egon
yeah.
for white, is who my white person was. For black, I chose Magnus because of the black hoodie. You chose Mikkel. Yellow, of course, is Jonas. How can you deny that? I chose
We
Jonas.
got one the same.
Franziska, green. I chose Franziska also for green.
Okay.
So we got 2 compatibilities, and then we got 7 non-compatibles.
Okay.
For orange, I chose Elizabeth, like the fox. For purple, I chose, and you chose Claudia for orange. For purple, I chose Regina. You chose Magnus. For pink, I chose Martha. You chose Benny, Bernadette. Let's see. For red, I chose Claudia. You chose Hannah. See, I originally said red for Hannah also. But then when I assigned Claudia, I scratched my name. I scratched Hannah out and I put Claudia instead because I thought that Claudia represented red better than Hannah. But originally I said Hannah. So take that for what you will.
I had both of them in my head for red.
It was blue that I assigned Hannah to eventually. So I changed my answer there. And you said Inez for blue.
Yeah. If it wasn't Inez, I would have said Yana. Those 2 are the bluest of the blue to me because they're the calmest, and the blue is the calm color, the innocent color.
Okay. I just for some reason I'm just picturing Hannah in that blue bathrobe from episode 1 or 2. So that's what I always associate her with now is blue for whatever reason that is. except for the red.
Well, young Hannah also, she had a lot of blue when she was younger. She had like the like the plaid skirt that had all the colors in it, but she was wearing a lot of it was blue.
Oh, for one wrap-up thought, too, I should have said this during our episode, but when stranger Jonas was trying to convince Hannah who he was, he recounted that day back in 1986. He was like, don't you remember when you ran into me and I was wearing my yellow raincoat in the rain? That was me, and I think that kind of blew her mind, and it blew all of our minds.
Yeah.
That's one of my notes I forgot to write down, but speaking of Hannah...
Yeah.
Young Hannah. But yeah, I think that's all we got for this week.
That was a fun, not quite a quiz, but that was a fun activity, fun thought exercise.
Yeah. Oh, I should have told the listener to think along as well, but I'm sure they were already doing that. Because that's what I do when I listen to podcasts. If somebody's getting a quiz, I think of the answers too, and usually my answers are the best answers.
Okay.
I'm being facetious.
Are we still doing our characters?
Oh. I guess so, because I forgot again. So yeah, you've been thinking about it, so I'm gonna make you go first then.
I was thinking about it just as we were talking, because I was like, oh crap, I haven't thought about it yet. Okay, so for my best character for this episode, this is a tough one because there's a lot of intriguing characters, but I'm giving my favorite character to Elizabeth. Not because I agree with hanging people, but she was just so interesting when she comes on as soon. Kind of like the same I felt about Ulrich. I'm entranced by her, and she's like this force of nature here. Like in the apocalypse, the leader is a deaf woman.
Yep. And we were talking about Elizabeth earlier. I basically said the exact same thing you just said, and I almost let it slip that she was going to be my favorite character of the episode too. Not just older Elizabeth that you just talked about, but even younger Elizabeth. I just think that she's a cool character, and I like her spirit. So that's the exact same character I chose. I bet you we probably might have the same worst character too. You want me to go first this time?
Sure.
Yeah, I think anytime somebody kills somebody, they pretty much jump to the top of the list. Like they kill someone, they're like, I know Steve's going to hate this. So yeah, it's Noah. He's a mean man that spiked that other nice man in the back and doing all that double. He's like, I don't know why I'm upset that he's like influencing himself in a weird way, but it's still disconcerting to see old Noah talking to young Noah and leading him along. I don't trust the guy. I don't like the guy. Noah, you're my worst again. For like the fourth week.
Well, Noah is actually my also negative character as well. My worst character as well. But I feel like for a slightly different reason, although maybe not. I don't know. You were talking about the fact that he killed somebody, but that was younger Noah.
That's right.
That killed somebody, influenced by Adam. But for me, it was the whole scene afterwards where he's talking to himself and acting like he's somehow immune to being persuaded by anybody. I didn't like how he had this air of arrogance. At the same time, I feel so that is why I'm giving him my least favorite character, because I think he lacks self-awareness. However, it's the older Noah. The younger Noah actually has my sympathies. So I feel like, because we're seeing this different side of Noah, that he actually had insecurities, but he was influenced by himself, which is kind of icky and gross.
Yeah,
that he was. That was his lot in life, but then it seems to be also other people's too. Like, for instance, Bartosz is being influenced. Helge was influenced. So there's a lot of that. So it's not like Noah's the only one, but I don't know. He just seems the worst or best at doing that to himself and other people.
Yeah, 100% agree. It's. I wonder if, listener, let us know if you think differently, because very rarely do we have the exact. I don't think it's ever happened that we both had the exact same least and most favorite character of an episode. So I think that says a lot that both of us glommed onto the same two people, Elizabeth and Noah.
Yeah. I mean, there's plenty of other trophies I could hand out, but I'm supposed to do best and worst. I'm like, Magnus is making questionable decisions, and Clausen's kind of annoying. So,
I was thinking about Clausen for my favorite, just because
I figured you were.
I liked him. I liked his style, and in Jonas, I'm a huge Jonas fan, especially a stranger Jonas fan, and he really shined a lot in this episode too. So. Yeah. I
almost thought my second choice for best would have been Hannah, just because, again, she doesn't get an award very often except for worst. So I was like,
true.
I felt for her this episode, but yeah, no, it's gonna be Elizabeth and Noah for both of us, I guess, this week.
Heck yeah! All right, well, we have done it now. Now I'm going to ask you. I have a couple things I'm going to bring up real quick. Is on July 1st, there is a Kaiju Fest. It's a Kaiju Lai Fest happening July 1st. And I'm going to be discussing the Kaiju movie Phallus in Wonderland, starring the Richmond band Gwar. I'll be discussing that on a live stream. And I think that's my big plug. I want everybody to listen to that. So the link to it is in the show notes here. That's going to be July 1st at 8 p.m. Eastern time. That's what we're doing here anyway on the East Coast. How about you, Lindsay? Have you done any movie reviews or any updates?
Well, I am going to be doing an Indiana Jones review that's coming out soon, so that'll be my next thing. But I did want to put in a plug. I haven't done a review for it except for a Letterboxd review, but the movie Past Lives is now out in many theaters, and I just want to give my highest recommendation to that movie.
Past Lives?
Past Lives, yeah. It's a childhood sweethearts that reunite as adults. A Korean movie. It's first time movie for Celine Song. So just give a plug for that movie. Check it out. Watch the trailer to see if it's kind of your jam.
Okay.
It's definitely a quiet movie about memories and the power of memory. Which in that way I could align with Dark, but you grow up and you're now a new person, but you have this memory of the old person.
Yeah.
But yet you're still connected, but you're not the same person anymore.
Interesting. Yeah. Good choice. I haven't heard of this one. Past Lives. I could go off on another tangent about that as well, but we're going to wrap up the show. So I'll save that tangent for next week.
Yeah.
Lindsay's stuff is always at oneofmystories.com, #1ofmystories.com. And there's always a link in the show notes, but if you're just a listener, you don't see those links. You just hear us. So that's where you go for Lindsay. For me, you can check me out at sweetchildoftimepod@gmail.com is where I get my emails, or my Instagram is sweetchildoftimepod on Instagram. So until next week, the listener and Lindsay, I hope you all find water and shade. How about you, Lindsay?
I hope you find water and shade, and I have nothing extra. Just find that water and shade, Steve. I'll try to be more creative next episode, but just straight up, yeah.
I love water and shade. Thank you. Bye, everybody.
Bye.